Oh yes, we have seen endotherms, ectotherms, and how these guys regulate their body temperatures. Now, we are going to talk about some good concepts, and it's really good. Okay? It is really good as far as thermoregulation is concerned. And here we shall going to see how environmental temperature affects the body temperature regulation, or how change in the environmental temperature affects the regulation of the body temperature in endotherms. We all appreciate that these endotherms are able to maintain their body temperature constant regardless of the environment. But it's not always like, it's not that when you keep decreasing, temperature will be maintained. No, you reach a level and everything collapses and the organism dies. Okay? Yes. So let's see what actually happens. So if the environmental temperature is decreased, obviously the body temperature is regulated by mostly the physical barriers. That's when you will start shivering. That's when there will be vaso constriction. That's when the skin hair is going to stand due to contraction of the erector pirimuscle. You remember all those physical means. Okay? But you reach a level where the physical means can no longer maintain the body temperature constant. Okay? And that temperature at which the body's physical mechanisms can no longer maintain the body temperature constant is what we refer to as the lower critical point, or the lower critical temperature. Okay? And then at that point, since the body's physical mechanisms can no longer maintain, you can no longer insulate your body. The environmental temperature is really down, that you can no longer insulate, or insulation alone is not enough. You actually need to produce more heat internally. That's when the body is going to switch on the body's metabolism, so that now regulation of temperature is by metabolism, by respiration. Okay? And so like I said, that temperature at which the body's physical mechanisms can no longer maintain the body temperature is known as the low critical temperature. Let's look at, let's have a graph, let's have a glimpse at our graph. Now, which color can I use here? I hope red is okay. Now, this zone here, it is the thermoneutral zone. It is the favorable zone. It's the zone where you actually don't struggle, okay, with maintaining the body temperature constant. It is within the range, okay, at which the body temperature is favorable for normal functioning of the body. And within this range here, any deviation, maybe decrease, is enough for these physical mechanisms, for these physical barriers that do insulate the body to maintain the internal environment constant. Maybe if this is maybe 37 degrees Celsius, and that's the body temperature, Any deviation, maybe from 37 and you go to 34, and maybe you go to 33, it's enough. The physical barriers, the physical mechanisms are enough to insulate the body to prevent it from excessive loss of heat. But now that temperature where the physical barriers can no longer maintain, this one here, now that's what we call the lower critical temperature. And now from here, if you keep decreasing the environmental temperature, then the rate of metabolism is going to increase, like how you can see. Okay, it is increasing. Why is it increasing? It's the other first graph that we saw. It should increase in order to generate more heat to replace the heat that is probably lost to the surrounding. Okay, in order to maintain the core body temperature constant. But but if you keep decreasing the ambient temperature, the room temperature, the environmental temperature, you reach a level where everything breaks down. Here, okay? Here you can no longer, the body metabolism has reached, you can no longer maintain the environmental temperature. And this point is what we call the lower lethal temperature. And this point, below this point, the moment you attain this and then below it, the organism is going to die. Why? Because the enzymes will be inactivated, the enzymes will be inactive, because the temperature now, the body temperature now is low, that it can no longer be maintained constant. It will simply decrease. And so the enzymes will be inactivated. So the body's metabolism, the metabolic processes, that is the anabolic processes and catabolic processes, they will shut down and the organism will die. Okay? And so that's what we call the lower lethal temperature. Now, how about when temperature increases? The same thing happens. At high temperatures, we have that neutral zone, the thermoneutral zone. You can have a glimpse at it. This is the zone where the physical barriers, the body's insulation mechanisms are really enough to maintain the body temperature. This one. Here the metabolic rate is simply down. The metabolic rate is low. Okay? So it is really, it's not increasing. It is on the BMR, the basal metabolic rate. BMR, basal, means the metabolic rate that is responsible for normal functioning of vital organs. Okay? That metabolism at rest. Okay? So all is good, all is normal. But now when you keep increasing, you reach a given temperature where the physical barriers, did I say the insulation? Maybe here you are not insulating. But these physical means by which the body loses heat, they can no longer maintain the body temperature constant. The sweating, the vasodilation, the falling of the skin hair, and those physical barriers, those physical mechanisms. Beyond that point, they can no longer lose enough heat in order to maintain the body temperature constant. So therefore what happens, and that point is known as the upper critical temperature, this one. Okay? And this is the lower critical temperature. Now beyond the upper critical temperature, the rate of respiration is going to increase. Okay? The thermal cooling process is going to break down. You can imagine. Okay? The system is going to completely break down. And the rate of respiration is going to simply increase. Why is it increasing? You remember when we talked about the factors which affect the rate of respiration, when we were studying respiration? Yes? Where we say that one of them is temperature. Exactly. Now when you increase temperature, you're going to increase the kinetic energy of enzyme and together with substrate molecules. And so when you increase the kinetic energy, you increase the chances of collision, hence increasing the rate of formation of products. That is respiration. So it will be it's like a positive feedback. Okay? Rate increases, so the temperature increases, rate of metabolism increases, okay? And actually, beyond the upper critical temperature, it actually doubles, the rate actually doubles for every increase in 10 degrees Celsius. Now, look at this. It's a positive feedback. Metabolism increases, okay? Heat produced increases. And so body temperature increases. And so metabolism also increases. And much heat generated, the temperature increases furthermore. And so metabolism increases. So it's a positive feedback. It's a disturbance. That the temperature is going to increase up to a certain point where there will be breakdown. And the individual is going to die. Why is the individual dying? Due to exhaustion. Why? Because the enzymes that do carry out the body's metabolic rate, they will be denatured. And if enzymes are denatured, then you suffer from fatigue, you suffer from dizziness, the skin will become completely hot and dry, you suffer from cramps, you generally suffer body weakness, no energy. So all these vital organs, these vital processes that occur in our bodies stop. The heart stops pumping. The brain breaks down. The liver, everything completely breaks down. And the organism dies. And that temperature at which the organism dies is known as the higher lethal temperature. Okay? So we have the temperature between the low critical, this one, and the upper critical temperature, this one, is known as the efficient range of an organism. That's where the organism actually lives best. That's the temperature range an organism needs. And when you live in such, you won't see yourself sweating. It's okay. You won't see yourself shivering. You won't see yourself uh, forming goosebumps. Generally, life would be good. I think like right now. Are you sweating? Are you putting on sweaters? So that is the efficient range of an organism. Okay, that's brilliant. And so the term, we have talked about 4 terms. The first one, maybe let me clean and I get where to write before I remind you the terms. So we have basically talked about the 4 terms: the lower critical temperature and the lower lethal temperature. We said this is the temperature at which the physical barriers, the insulation mechanism, can no longer maintain the body temperature constant. And then the lower lethal temperature, we have said that it's a temperature at which the organism dies. That low temperature beyond which the body's metabolism stops and the organism can no longer maintain its body temperature constant, and the organism, boom, shuts down. Then we have talked about the upper critical temperature and the higher lethal temperature. Here, this is the highest temperature at which the physical mechanisms can no longer lose enough heat to maintain the body's temperature constant. The sweating, the falling of the skin hair, the vasodilation, they can no longer maintain the body temperature constant. And so because of that, then the metabolic rate begins to increase up to the higher lethal temperature where the organism, boom, dies. Okay? And then finally, we've talked about the efficient range, okay? Efficient range of an organism, ER, or the thermoneutral zone. And I'll say that this is the temperature at which an organism is not bothered. Okay? And the organism can efficiently live in such a range of environment or environmental temperature. So that's basically how simple it is. In case there are questions, feel free, guys, to ask.